While it's always good to hear great things about your team before a season starts, deep down in their hearts, even the most diehard fans know that there are some bad things about their squad. With that in mind, here's something bad about every team in the NFC prior to the 2025 season. The Arizona Cardinals, the bad. The Cardinals are still waiting for Kyler Murray to become an elite quarterback. While his numbers have been okay, Murray's never produced the way the team needs him to for them to have sustained success. In his 6 seasons, the Cardinals have only had one winning season and have only made the playoffs once. On offense, in 2024, the team finished 5th worst in the league in touchdown passes. On defense, the Cardinals finished in the bottom half of the league in passing yards, yards allowed per offensive play, and forced turnovers. The Atlanta Falcons, the bad. For 7 straight seasons, the Falcons have given up more points on defense than they've scored on offense. The last time they scored more points than they gave up was in 2017, which was also the last season that they not only had a winning record, but also made the playoffs. Meanwhile, while a segment of Falcons fans love to hate on former quarterback Matt Ryan, in his 14 seasons, he started nearly every single game and missed only 3 during that time, and that was because of injury. However, since he was traded away following the 2021 season, the Falcons have used 5 different starting quarterbacks. We'll spare you the details of the names, but trust me, the quarterbacking has not been good since he left. The Carolina Panthers, the bad. Since 2018, the Panthers have been owned by David Tepper. Aside of generally being considered one of the worst owners in the NFL, in his tenure as owner, he's fired one of the winningest and most decorated coaches, Ron Rivera, in team history. He's given Matt Rule a 7-year, $62 million contract to become head coach. Then, after a little over 2 seasons, he fired Rule and was still forced to pay him a $40 million buyout. He also didn't retain interim coach Steve Wilks after he fired Rule, despite the fact that Wilks led the team to a 6-6 record after they started 1-4. In more coaching hijinks, he replaced Wilks with Frank Reich, primarily for him to develop number 1 draft pick Bryce Young. That idea went away quickly because after Reich won only one of his first 11 games, Tepper reversed field and fired him. Additionally, Tepper's interfered in football affairs without the requisite football knowledge. While that's his right as an owner, hasn't led to success on the field. In fact, in his 7 seasons as the owner, the team has won only 36 games. This ties them with the New York Jets for the fewest wins in the league during that time. And we didn't even get to talk about him throwing drinks on fans. The Chicago Bears, the bad. Number 1 overall 2024 pick Caleb Williams is already working in his second offense in his second season. While that may be a good thing based on the way he was coached last season, we won't know this for sure until the season begins. Additionally, GM Ryan Poles has been given a 3-year contract extension that ties him to the team through 2029. After only 15 wins and 2 last-place finishes in his 3 seasons as GM, Poles has also made some dubious decisions. First, he hired Matt Eberflus. Then, he failed to fire Eberflus when it was obvious that he should have. Next, Poles traded for Chase Claypool while also drafting wide receiver Velus Jones Jr. in the 3rd round of the 2022 draft. In parts of 5 seasons, those 2 receivers combined for a whopping 30 receptions, and don't want to leave out the 2 touchdown receptions that came with that. The Dallas Cowboys, the bad. Owner Jerry Jones has turned the Dallas Cowboys into a business. The team has one of the biggest fan bases in the NFL, without question, and Jones leans into that. For example, on most teams, certain things such as players working out and practicing are off limits to the public. However, Jones uses those times as an opportunity to make more money and to grow the Dallas Cowboy brand. That's great if you care about how much money the Dallas Cowboys franchise is making, but not so much if all you care about is your team winning football games. Jones's own players have commented that having fans in the middle of player activities is distracting. On the field, while the Cowboys still have talented individual players, they no longer have the dominating offensive line that used to be their trademark. That's why for at least the last 5 years, the Dallas offense has been one-dimensional. They've struggled to establish the dominating run game that they were known for when Ezekiel Elliott was churning out 1,000-yard seasons. The Detroit Lions, the bad. The Lions are victims of their own success, as they just lost their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator, as both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, respectively, left the team for head coaching jobs. John Morton, previously the passing game coordinator for the Denver Broncos, has to try and match the creativity that Johnson brought to the offensive coordinator role. The Lions also have to replace offensive line anchor center Frank Ragnow. Due to health concerns, the four-time Pro Bowler abruptly retired at only 29 years old in the offseason. Replacing both your offensive coordinator and your center at the same time almost guarantees that the Lions offense will struggle, at least initially, at the beginning of the 2025 season. New defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard, elevated from linebackers coach, is tasked with improving the Lions' pass rush. The team finished near the bottom of the league in sacks in 2024. Of course, they should be buffered by the return of Aiden Hutchinson. The Green Bay Packers, the bad. The Packers struggled in division games last season as they went 1-5. They also came up short against good teams as they went 0-6, including the playoffs, against the Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Packers receivers need to do a better job of supporting quarterback Jordan Love. Green Bay had 3 receivers in the top 17 in the league in drop passes: Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Romeo Doubs. Furthermore, Jaden Reed led the team with only 55 catches, easily the lowest amount for a team leader in the league. Additionally, the team had no 1,000-yard receivers. We're going to take a time out from our story to ask you to like, subscribe, share, comment, hit that notification bell, and repeat when it comes to our videos. Now, back to our story. The Los Angeles Rams, the bad. The Rams have struggled in both their linebacking core and at the back of their defense. In a situation that you wouldn't expect from a team that made it to the second round of the playoffs last year, the Rams defense gave up more points than they scored in the 2024 season. Other various statistics point out the areas of weaknesses of the defense. Against the rush, the defense finished 26th in yards per carry allowed. Against quarterbacks, they also finished in the bottom half of the league in passing yards allowed and 6th worst in TD passes allowed. They struggled against tight ends, as they were 3rd worst in receptions allowed, 4th worst in yards allowed, and were 5th worst in TD passes allowed. Against wide receivers, they tied for 3rd worst in TD passes allowed. Overall, the defense finished 6th worst in yards allowed per play. Offensively, the running game was 2nd worst in the league, averaging only 3.9 yards per carry, while also finishing in the bottom third of the league in rushing yards. The team also finished in the back half of the league in points scored per game. The Minnesota Vikings, the bad. Without question, the Vikings have the weakest starting quarterback in a powerful division in de facto rookie J.J. McCarthy. While it's noted that McCarthy has the potential to be good, until it's fulfilled, potential just means hope. Additionally, recent history is against J.J., as over the last quarter century, 3 other quarterbacks were chosen in the top 10 of the NFL draft who, like him, had no starts in their rookie season. Those 3 guys: Jake Locker for the Titans, he finished 4-7 in 2011. Phillip Rivers for the San Diego Chargers had no starts in his second year in 2004, and Carson Palmer of the Cincinnati Bengals went 6-7 in 2003. The Vikings, who are coming off a 14-win season, have far greater expectations than any of those situations for their quarterback. To go with a first-time starter at quarterback, the team also has a new center as well as 2 new guards in Ryan Kelly, Donovan Jackson, and Will Freeze, respectively. This is the standard that the Vikings set for J.J. McCarthy. Last year, the offense finished 6th in the league in passing yards and 5th in TD passes. It's safe to say that's not going to happen this year, as the Vikings will be focusing on the run until J.J. McCarthy can get his feet wet and get comfortable in the offense. Having said that, the Vikings finished 19th last year in rushing yards and were the 3rd worst in the league in rushing touchdowns. They had only 9. They also finished in the bottom half of the league in yards per carry. The New Orleans Saints, the bad. What's worse, beginning a season with a starting quarterback that has 6 career starts and a 57% completion percentage? That would be Spencer Rattler. A quarterback with 1 career start and a 46% career completion percentage? That would be Jake Haener. Or a rookie quarterback, Tyler Shuck. The New Orleans Saints are about to find out, as those are their current choices. Combine that with a new head coach and a new offensive system, and the Saints are seriously looking at a realistic shot at having the number 1 pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Maybe they'll be able to get a quarterback there. On offense, in 2024, the Saints were near the bottom of the league in points scored, passes completed, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. And that's with having had Derek Carr around at least for a few games. Additionally, Alvin Kamara led the team in receptions with 68, while tight end Juwan Johnson led the team in receiving yards with 548. Another tight end, Foster Moreau, led the team with 5 touchdown receptions. I'm going to say that there's no other team in the league that has a running back as your top pass catcher, a tight end that has the most receiving yards on your team, and also a tight end that has the most touchdown catches on your team. That's just a weird trifecta that I just didn't expect to see that. On defense, the Saints gave up the 3rd most yards in the league. They were the 4th worst in yards given up per play. They were 6th worst in passing yards given up. And they also gave up the 2nd most rushing yards in the league. On top of that, they also allowed the 5th most touchdown passes and gave up the 2nd most yards per carry in the NFL. It's going to be a long season for Saints fans. The New York Giants, the bad. Joe Burrow led the NFL in touchdown passes in 2024 with 43. Over the last 3 seasons combined, from 2022 to 2024, the New York Giants as a team have thrown 47 touchdown passes. That tells you everything you need to know about the status of the team's quarterback position at the end of last season. In 2022, the Giants won 10 games, including a playoff win. However, in the last 2 seasons combined, the team has totaled only 9 wins. In 2024, the Giants' defense gave up the 9th most yards in the NFL. They had the 5th highest average of yards allowed per play. They forced the 4th fewest turnovers, and they were the 2nd worst in the league in intercepting the ball. Along with that, they gave up the 6th most rushing yards and were also the 5th worst in average yards allowed per carry in the entire league. The Philadelphia Eagles, the bad. Even though the Eagles are the defending champions, they still have some holes that they need to fill on their roster. The Eagles have to replace the loss of their sack leader, linebacker Josh Sweat, as well as number 3 sack leader, defensive tackle Milton Williams. They also have to replace cornerback Darius Slay and safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson. On offense, the Eagles lack a quality backup quarterback. It won't be a problem as long as Jalen Hurts stays healthy, but we know how the NFL goes. The Eagles also lack depth behind their star wide receivers A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Additionally, they'll be under their 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 seasons, as passing game coordinator Kevin Patullo was promoted to replace the departed Kellen Moore. This makes the 5th play caller that Jalen Hurts will have had to work with in his 6 years in the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers, the bad. The 49ers are in a bad position at wide receiver. Brandon Ayuk is still recovering from his torn ACL and MCL in his knee from last season. Accordingly, he's currently on the PUP list. De facto number 1 wide receiver Juwan Jennings has used that to his advantage as he's demanded a contract extension. So far, Jennings has showed up for camp and has also participated in workouts, but this situation still bears watching. Meanwhile, wide receiver Ricky Pearsall is currently sidelined with a hamstring injury. Franchise running back Christian McCaffrey is coming off a season where he missed 13 games. Having just turned 29, McCaffrey not only has to prove that he's recovered from his knee injury, he also has to prove he still has it as he approaches a so-called cliff for running backs, age 30. On defense, the Niners must replace departed linebacker Dre Greenlaw as well as safety Talanoa Hufanga. The Seattle Seahawks, the bad. Last season, running back Kenneth Walker not only missed 6 games, he only averaged 3.7 yards a carry when he did play. The Seahawks also had the 5th fewest rushing yards in the league and tied for 5th worst in the league in touchdown passes, while also throwing the 4th most interceptions. Additionally, the team has lost 2 of their top wide receivers since then in veterans DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. On defense, the team finished as the 3rd worst in the NFL by forcing only 5 fumbles. The team also has to get better at playing the run as they gave up the 5th highest yards per rush in the league. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the bad. For the 3rd year in a row, the Buccaneers have a new offensive coordinator. Passing game coordinator Josh Broussard has been promoted to replace Liam Cohen, who left to become the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Franchise tackle Tristan Wirfs is currently on the PUP list and most likely will miss some games at the start of the regular season as he recovers from an injured knee. Baker Mayfield has to get better at taking care of the ball as he threw the 4th most interceptions in the NFL in 2024. The offense also had the 4th most fumbles in the NFL. On defense, the Buccaneers gave up the 4th most passing yards in the league, the 7th most passing touchdowns, while also finishing 4th worst in passes intercepted. The Washington Commanders, the bad. The Commanders are at a stalemate with franchise wide receiver Terry McLaurin. The team must get this resolved, as their offense is not nearly as good without McLaurin. On defense, the Commanders got sold a bill of goods when they traded for Marshawn Lattimore. On the surface, it appeared that the team had gotten a lockdown corner when they acquired him. However, even the greatest cornerback can't cover anybody if he isn't on the field. To that end, Lattimore missed his first 4 games as a Commander. After he played 2 games, then he missed 2 more games. This is Lattimore's track record, as he's missed 25 games over the past 3 seasons. That's not even counting the games that he partially misses because he gets hurt in a particular game. In 8 seasons, Lattimore has only played a full one twice. Odds are that he won't play every game in the 2025 season either. What do you think about what we had to say about the bad? We know everybody's not going to agree with everything, but what's some things that we missed that are bad? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for taking the time to check out our video. We appreciate you spending time with us. We can have other videos that we need you to check out, and we're going to continue to produce content as the season goes on. So come take a look at us, see what you think, let us know, and we'll build on from there. Thanks again, and see you soon.